Hello and welcome to the Atlas Film Reviews podcast, starring Ryan Tomlinson and
Andrew Knowles.
Andrew Knowles. How are you, Andrew?
I'm alright.
I'm alright. We've been to see some films, haven't we?
We really have. We have actually seen several films.
Which is good, because it means that we're taking this a bit more seriously now, which is nice. So let's start off with our first review. Deadpool.
Yes, Deadpool. A film about a man who isn't dead.
But is a pool? No, never mind. So, yes, Deadpool is the newest 20th Century Fox X-Men film, which is nice and R-rated and sweary and nudie and very rude and very, very funny.
There are some interesting sex scenes, I'll give it that.
Yeah, absolutely.
As a 15-year-old, that would have been mind-blowing.
Yeah. There would have been a lot of questions asked. Not being funny.
Mummy, where do babies come from? Is that where babies come from?
Mummy, what's pegging? Anyway, so what did you think of the film?
I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
I preferred, I think, the first half to the second half.
Right.
And honestly, it didn't ever get much better than the very opening. But I don't think I've ever laughed more at the opening of a film than I did.
Especially when there's no dialogue, purely visual.
Purely British villain.
So good. So good. Yeah, so for anyone who hasn't seen it, the opening sequence of Deadpool is a lovely CGI long take that goes through this chaos of a car tumbling through the air with people with cigarette lighter burns in their mouths and Hello Kitty purses and things like that floating around. Very amazingly funny. Every little kind of
every detail is wonderful and
it's incredible.
Reveals something that makes it funnier.
Yeah.
And then what's even better is this isn't just a sort of, oh, this will make a cool intro, because they've thought about it more than that. And they then go, Deadpool sort of addresses the camera in his rather Deadpool-y way, breaking the fourth wall, and explains the back where this came from. And then you slowly eventually build up to the point where it explains why he's in the car, why that man has a sort of cigarette lighter in his mouth and several burns on his face. And it just...
Actually, I think that's an interesting point to talk about, is the fact that the way that the story is told is non-linear. I think it's unlike... Because most superhero movies, you might get one or two little flashbacks or what have you, but they've always been, to my knowledge anyway, completely linear. So
it's as if with this film, Deadpool's a pretty good storyteller. He's gone,
yes.
I could tell this chronologically. That's boring. I'll start somewhere in the middle and then get them up to speed.
Work your way up to it.
Sort of bit at a time, and then when we get to the end, it'll all be
absolutely. Which is only feeds more into the Deadpool character that is breaking the conventions of what a hero is supposed to be like, the conventions of what a movie is supposed to be like. To the extent where not only does it shift the humour and tone of a superhero movie, but as you say, the storytelling method. Because, you look at any of the mainline Marvel stuff, it's all been, Iron Man does this, and Iron Man does that, and it carries on, and we're all up to speed the entire way through. It's very traditional film storytelling. It's probably one of the most creative films I've seen, in that genre especially. It's a very creative movie.
It was a very bold film, and they did... It was, I imagine it didn't have a lot of money, did it? It was a fairly fairly small budget.
Well, comparably small budget anyway, yeah. And if you look at the film itself, there's not a huge amount of kind of set pieces, locations, characters. There's probably an ensemble cast of about 10 people.
It's pretty stripped back, but it works very well like that.
It's just kind of Deadpool, Colossus, and Teenage Negasonic, or whatever her name was.
Teenage Negasonic Warhead.
That's the one.
Oh, Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
Something like that.
Or
Warhead.
Teenage. No, it was definitely Warhead was the last word,
yes.
And then Teenage and Negasonic were in there somewhere.
Anyway, but it's very, very small kind of ensemble cast in that respect, which is really interesting to see again. And the sets, in terms of most of the film takes place on that highway shootout.
Yeah.
Which obviously is a huge show of the fact that there isn't the budget there, but it still works quite nicely that it's very limited. It's almost set-piece-wise like a play, in so much as there are lots of small, familiar plays, like a fucking Coronation Street, you know what I mean? Small, familiar sets.
You've got the pub, you've got the flat, you've got the bit by the road, and then you've got that bit where they take the piss out of the shield carrier.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's great. It's amazing. The big downed helicarrier, which they have a fight on, which Fox isn't allowed to use the image of a shield helicarrier, but it's quite heavily implied that that's what it is.
Yes, it looks a lot like a helicarrier, and you're just... Is that a helicarrier?
But it's like a legally safe version of it.
This is definitely a film for people that know stuff about the Marvel universe.
Absolutely, it's almost like, because what's changed, especially with the Marvel film, and I think you've hit on something really interesting there, like what's changed is the fact that now, rather than kind of Iron Man, the earlier Captain Americas, where there were lots of references of comic book stuff, now that it's in the mainline films, and it's done all the world building, the films are very much like, here are characters that everyone recognises in these situations. There's not a huge amount of references, whereas Deadpool provides that, here are the references, here's the stuff we're taking the piss out of, rather than the Marvel films, which are meant for everyone. Mm-hmm. Deadpool's got a very specific audience.
Then the fact that Deadpool did so well, I think, just shows you how big, the scale of the cultural impact that the whole Marvel stuff is having.
Absolutely.
I mean, a few years ago, I didn't really know who Deadpool was,
no.
And now I know. Well, I've read some of his comics.
Deadpool's one of those characters who, in the last 5 years, because I've watched it a lot recently, kind of, because I used to read Deadpool comics and stuff I'm talking a while ago when Deadpool started getting kind of more well known, got really into them, and now he's just been everywhere, almost to the point of overexposure, and this isn't a criticism of the movie. I'm talking about kind of internet culture, especially. Deadpool's become a bit of a kind of mascot, familiar face. Mm-hmm. So the films now come out cashing in on that a little bit, but in the same way, the way I feel, being an old school Deadpool fan, that sounds really pretentious, but I'm going to say it anyway, being one of these kind of, I've known it for a long time, before it was cool, I've got to this point now, I'm like, oh well, the comics and the character aren't as special anymore, because everybody's, and it sounds really hipstery to say, but everyone knows it, so it's not...
The thing was, this film was special.
Exactly, like, the comic book character was no longer our little secret, but the film now feels like it's our little secret again. Although it did massively well.
It's a big secret shared between a lot of people.
Absolutely.
That's the thing that the Deadpool film definitely did. It's for a certain community, but the community is pretty large, and it's made a ton of money.
Absolutely. It's done a huge...
Clearly there are an awful lot of people around who are fans of Deadpool and comics.
Massively so. Which is really nice to see. I mean, like I say...
The geek shall inherit the earth. And it starts with a Deadpool film.
The geeks will inherit... I like that. So, I mean, Deadpool, as we said, the success of Deadpool has been mind-boggling. And I think one of the things that is most curious about it is the fact that it is an R-rated film. And it still did so well. This is, our next topic. This is my attempt at a segue.
This is our theme for the episode, kids.
This is the title. This is the description. R-rated movies, I would say, in the last kind of 5 years, maybe 10 at a push, have reclined hugely in the last 5 years. There's not been a huge amount. There's been a lot of kind of family and nicety.
Sort of family epic things like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, and even the stuff that isn't meant for families isn't pushing any boundaries in terms of rating. It's all been pretty white bread in the middle kind of thing.
Yeah, things that everyone from like 12-year-old kids to adults can go see.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
been sort of the broad market for most films.
But now, with Deadpool coming back, it shows, it's had a huge effect because it not only demonstrates, oh shit, there's an R-rated audience, but it's now set a precedent that a lot of things are following. Like, literally a month after Deadpool's success, Fox came out and said, well, the next Wolverine film we make, the last Wolverine film, thank fucking God, put Hugh Jackman out to pasture, I tell you.
Hugh Jackman just going... Kill
me, Bob.
Although that does give him a rather good perspective on what it is to be Wolverine.
Well, yeah.
Never letting it die. Just this time, let it be the last one.
He's like.
I've seen 2 world wars.
He's Marvel's equivalent to Heath Ledger and the Joker. Just Hugh Jackman just hasn't killed himself yet.
Oh, that's a bit dark.
Was that a bit? Oh, sorry.
We might have to cut that one.
Nah, that's staying in, mate. That's staying in. But yeah, so Wolverine's next film is going to be R-rated, like I say, following in the steps of Deadpool. And another trailer came out, dropped very recently, which I didn't even know, I don't think anyone knew was a project, which was Seth Rogen's animated film...
Sausage Party,
yeah. Which I'm very much looking forward to, was, like I say, dropped out of fucking nowhere. And is now this, everyone's going, oh my God, it looks like it was a kid's film. Whoa, everyone wants to see it. And it's going to do really well. And
it does look good. You should totally watch the trailer.
And I think what's fascinating about it is that, 2 months ago we had people going, Deadpool, it's going to be the best, it's going to be an R-rated superhero movie, and everyone flooded to see it. And now you've got this film coming out which is, it's going to be an mature comedy animated film, which we haven't seen. So you've got these schools of people now pushing these boundaries because they know that people are hungry for it. Absolutely. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes more. I mean, Marvel Studios have said that they are not doing an R-rated film.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, let's face it, they're owned by Disney.
That's true, yeah, that does rather...
And also, you know, they've got a fan base and a market that is cross-generational.
Oh my god, I'd love an R-rated Star Wars film. Just like Rogue Squadron, just going, fucking stormtroopers. Oh. Let's go kick some fucking ass, guys.
Oh, I don't know.
And just like a Bothan in the background yells, cunt.
Yeah, but one thing, I don't know, because that raises a really interesting question, because there's been no other R-rated Star Wars movie, obviously. But if you saw someone wander out, you know, in the orange jumpsuit and the helmet, like, Star Wars, and they went, fucking bullshit, fucking Empire, I think I'd be like, whoa, what? No, don't. You're precious and fantasy, like.
Well, there's only so many times you can say nerf herder. Sometimes nerf
Very
herder
true.
just doesn't cut it, and you can't say that anymore.
I don't know.
Because that's their word.
That's their word. I don't know if I'd feel comfortable seeing a sweary rebel, or... Because I mean, a rebel that, you know, you get these kind of PG-12 rated ones where it's like, you know, say that crap. And it's just like, that's a safe swear word, and, you know, now you've got a gruff character, but you haven't offended anyone. Like, that's the line I think I'd be happy with a rebel trooper to go to. You know what I mean? I don't know, like, I can't imagine Darth Vader swearing, let's put it that way. Like,
well, there is a bit where Han Solo says, I'll see you in hell!
Well, yeah.
I mean, that's fairly tame, admittedly.
Is there a Star Wars hell?
Well, that's an interesting thing.
Anyway,
we were talking about swearing.
Yeah, should we get back onto it? Right. So, I mean, how do you feel about there being a resurgence of R-rated films and this audience being looked after again?
I think it's broadly a good thing, although I do worry that, as with any sort of film resurgence, there's going to be some good things and amongst it. Well, no, I reckon it's more going to be there's going to be a lot of crap, and in amongst the crap, there's going to be a few really good, sort of, leftover bits.
The example I would give, and you can see when you look at this case study, that like why there's been no R-rated films. I mean, you look back. If you go back to Superbad, for example, Superbad was a great comedy, and it propelled Seth Rogen's writing career in terms of films. Like, he hadn't done a lot before, and then like...
Did he write it?
He wrote Superbad.
He was like 9 in that.
No.
Well, not 9. But...
Seth Rogen.
Oh, Seth Rogen.
Not fucking Jonah Hill.
Oh, Jonah Hill, right.
No, Seth Rogen wrote Superbad.
Oh, sorry, I thought they're both...
the other curly
They're both chubby and curly haired.
No, so Seth Rogen wrote that, which he'd done other stuff, I think, like a lot of TV and stuff, but like it propelled him to write more movies, which was great.
All right.
And then you've got Pineapple Express after that, which is a fantastic movie. I love Pineapple Express. And then after Pineapple Express, there's loads of really shit films by that kind of studio and that kind of... I suppose you call it like a school of writing. Like, there was, stuff like Project X.
That sounds like a terrible comedy film. The sequel to School of Rock.
School
of Writing! What? You kids have never heard of Shakespeare?
Just Jack Black looking really tired. So just like... Ooh, I love P.B. Shelley.
I just read Othello.
But then what was This Is the End? I think it was called.
Oh yes,
which I despise. I think it's one of the most lowbrow, shite pieces of film and writing I've ever. I hate it within an inch of its life.
Michael Cera was good in it though.
Yeah, Michael Cera's in it for 5 fucking minutes. And it's good because it's Michael bloody Cera. The rest of it is just horse shit. Like, and what I think about that...
Wasn't as good as World's End.
No, exactly.
I got those two films confused when they were coming out.
Yeah, best not. One's a little bit better.
Yeah, one is the British take on the end of the world, which is let's go to the pub, and the other is the American take on the end of the world, which is...
Well, no, this is the thing. It's not that at all. It's such a self-indulgent movie. It's just these guys... That was
sort of the whole point of it, though.
But I know it was, but I am not saying that it wasn't supposed to be, but I just think because they sat up being like, hey, let's make a movie about us and getting high and like getting to the end of the world and shit, and just all these in-jokes. It felt like a fucking student film of in-jokes, and I didn't like it at all, and it had the budget. Don't get me wrong, there are some funny moments, like any comedy, but I think it's trash. And then if you look at the films around then, all the same, overly crass, bit empty, kind of.
Well, you see, this is my fear. That's what's going to happen again.
Exactly.
The studios are going to see. Well, they're going to scent money like a shark scents blood in water.
Yeah.
They're going to swarm in, and it's just going to be a whole host of things with Zac Efron playing a sort of teenage heartthrob in a sort of swearing.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's a fine
comedy.
balance. Even some of the comedies that are coming out at the moment.
Ha! I'm throwing shit at that guy's house.
Exactly. Like you got Neighbours and Neighbours 2 coming out. Not the Australian soap opera, no. And then you've got, what was the other one? Him with Robert De Niro, Naughty Grandpa or something like that.
Bad Grandpa?
No, Bad Grandpa was the Jackass one. But I can't remember what it was called.
The one where he's basically just being
sex
lecherous
pest.
around women.
Yeah. That and that just looks overly crass and trash.
I know.
So hopefully the R-rated audience is now going to get quality movies, and I think that's the difference. Is there isn't enough love or money put into the genre or the rating, I suppose. But I think Deadpool set a really interesting precedent. So
yeah,
I have to see where it goes.
Hopefully, good places. And I have high hopes for the Sausage Party.
Yes,
it does look very good. I mean, admittedly, trailers. Well, no, trailers don't always make the film look good, but. I mean, even if those bits in the trailer are the best bits of the film, it still looks like it's going to be a pretty decent film.
So hopefully it will come up to Trump's or alternatively, it will just be 2 hours of fart jokes.
Moving on now to another film we've seen. Hail Caesar.
Hail Caesar, the new film from the Cahalin brothers about sort of the studio system in the 19-whenevers, really.
It is an homage to 1950s cinema.
Yes.
Lovingly done, but also with a slight air of sort of mischief.
And it's not just the 1950s cinema, the 50s cinema, it's also like the studio system, the types of people, the time it's at, the Hollywood at the time.
And also the stereotypical view of it.
Yes, absolutely.
With the secret communists.
Yes, it's a fantastic kind of allegory for. It's very much an expanded version of reality, like as you say, with communist writers and things like that. But which did exist, but done in this way that is so much more fantastical and hilarious. Like Edward Mannix, the guy who Josh Brolin plays, was a real person. I mean, he didn't go around and do the things he did, but he was
slapping
a real.
Women and
exactly. Well, he probably did that, to be fair. But he was a real Hollywood fixer.
It was the 1950s, after all.
It was a real job, Hollywood fixer. These were real people that were part of the production team that would go around and rather whip all these stars into shape. It's an incredible thing, and also, I'll get it in early, the references not just to the style, but direct references to the films that were made. You've got these dramas done by Lawrence Lawrence.
The ballroom dramas.
Exactly.
And then you've got the cowboy films.
And then the dance films, which are, I mean, if anyone's ever seen
some of the dance sequences in this film are incredibly lovingly
done. And if
done.
anyone knows anything about kind of dance films of that time, the name Busby Berkeley will ring true. And the film's dance sequences are very much Busby Berkeley. You've got the water scenes as well as these big dances. And you've even got Gene Kelly's dancing in the form of Channing Tatum's Sailor thing. It's straight out of On the Town. It's an amazing film. It really is. So what did you think of it kind of as a whole?
I've been thinking about it a lot. I enjoyed it, but at the same time I have reservations. It feels a bit like a sketch show. There is a coherent plot that sort of ties it all together, but it's like a sketch show.
Yeah.
It's like a bit here, and it all does tie together sort of broadly. It's all happening in the same sort of studios, whatever, and people from across the things chat to each other, but it's like a sketch show. It's not really I'm not sure it's entirely a film in its sort of own right. It's just... Right. It is basically... It doesn't transcend being just a... for me, it didn't transcend being just a sort of playful nod to 1950s cinema.
Yes, I agree. And I think the same way
culture.
The same way that Deadpool was a film for the comic book film audience is Little Secret.
This was a film for people that know about the history of film.
It's for film lovers, and especially old film lovers.
I mean, there are things to enjoy about it.
Film lovers who love old films, not just old people that love cinema. It could be both, though. They don't have to be mutually exclusive.
But yes, there is stuff in this film for people who aren't sort of massive film nerds.
Very much so. Like, but I think,
I mean, the dance sequences are spectacular, regardless of
however, I think
whether
if
or
you're not
not
a
you
fan
understand
of-
what they're referencing.
yeah, I think if you're not a fan of the Coen brothers, and you're not a kind of huge fan, I mean, you don't need an encyclopedic knowledge of the time that it's referencing, but if you don't know anything about it, and you're going in to watch it as the film it is on its own, I think you would walk away slightly disappointed by it.
Don't expect it. I mean, George Clooney gets kidnapped,
Yeah.
but it's not a gripping kidnap story. It's really
No.
not that at all.
And but it's not even about the story at all, is it? It's more about the characters.
It's about the characters. It's about the sort of sketches.
Yeah.
The fact that
Although you do have the journey in it, it's almost like the whole plot is just this one big MacGuffin. That it isn't the point of the film. The point of the film is the people.
Yeah. The point of the film is just for the characters to be in the same place
And to
at
interact
vaguely
with
the
each
same
other,
time.
yeah.
And, yeah.
I mean, one of the best scenes is the scene with Ralph Fiennes as Lawrence Lawrence and the young actor whose name escapes me, doing the whatever Tourist of Sample, like that whole, and that goes on for like 5 minutes, but it's hilarious and it's one of the best things because
there are some very good performances.
yeah,
from
and
the
these
actors
two
in this.
opposite worlds, which are both very archetypal characters of the thespian in cinema and the bumbling young talent.
Mm-hmm.
Such familiar characters to anyone who kind of knows anything about film or acting at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then on a deeper level, I mean, I've directed a couple of short films of my own, and I've worked with a lot of actors and stuff like that.
The difficulty of getting actors who aren't very good actors.
Absolutely,
to act.
and it's exactly what it's like. I mean, I've had auditions for some of the stuff I've done where I've had people who will, do a line, I'll give them a bit of direction, and they just won't change a thing. And it's
To
like,
be or not
exactly,
to be.
it's hilarious.
Okay, but can you do it like you're feeling it, like an emotion, like you have feelings?
That's exactly what it's like. I mean, possibly not that direction, but something similar. But
How would you have directed that?
Let's not. So I think the film's very funny, and I think it's beautifully shot. Like, it's very nice. It's a very nicely made film, especially the dance sequences. And I think if you're not going for the same reason, for the reasons that it was intended to entertain, you're going to walk away going, "Fucking hell, them dance sequences were great."
Yeah. Regardless of what you go into this film thinking, you'll come away thinking, those dance sequences were good.
Yeah, like surprisingly good.
Which sort of made me feel that I sort of wished that instead of doing this sort of slightly, not exactly lazy, but I don't mean lazy in they didn't work hard to make it, I mean lazy in that it feels slightly lazy, not really tied together.
Right.
I came out of it thinking,
Thematically.
you know what I'd really like the Coen brothers to do is to go, we should not just make a sort of light-hearted sketch show about 1950s cinema, we should do a film in which we have dancing.
Yeah.
Proper 1950s dancing, just a nice comedy musical thing in the 1950s style, but we, the Coen brothers, do it because we're great. And if they did that, that would be a staggering piece of cinema, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Which is, I think, possibly one of the reasons I came at this feeling a little disappointed. It's like the Coen brothers have gone, yeah, we're great at making films, we know we can make great films, but we've got this, like, it's like, I felt like it should have come out on TV as a series of episodes of a sketch show. Rather
Yeah,
than...
I know what you mean. And also, I think what's really interesting about it is, as you say about these dance sequences, sure, there are dance films, but you don't get any of the old-fashioned dance films anymore. You don't get tap and musical theatre dance stuff.
Nothing at all like...
Which is why it was so staggering to watch, because it hasn't been seen since the time that they're talking about. Well, I say that, but you know what I mean.
It's like singing in the rain. It's
exactly like that.
I came out of this film... Well, no, several weeks after watching this film, I realised that what I want the Coen brothers to do their own version of Singing in the Rain.
Yeah.
But, I mean, probably with different characters and a different plot, but still.
But just Singing in the Rain.
But yeah, Singing in the Rain. Basically, musicals, dancing, just wonderful. Because that's something I think the film has lost, because, frankly, who wants to watch... step up to the dance floor?
Oh, exactly. Like, it's not... I mean, again, that's where Channing Tatum was, but it's...
Oh, how can we be together? I'm a ballerina and you're a grunge hip-hop star.
It's worrying you know so much about the film.
I have seen adverts for it.
Yeah, sure. I'll believe you. Tell the audience. Yeah, I'm sure, Andrew. Another film that we went to see, because we were busy. We've been busy. We've seen lots of films for
It's
this.
moving on to darker themes.
To darker themes.
We need to talk more tensely and more broodingly if we're going to talk about this.
More and mysteriously.
This is the film that is 10 Cloverfield Lane. It is Lane, right? Not Road.
Yes, no, it's 10 Cloverfield Way. do you reckon that was the writer's room when they were trying to
10
Road.
Cloverfield Drive?
Cloverfield Close. no, too many C's.
Cloverfield Walk.
Avenue. Oh, God.
Just
So,
sitting
yes.
there. Yeah.
So, 10 Cloverfield Highway. What did we think of it?
I thought it was very good.
Yes, I thought it was very good. Right, well, thank you for listening to the Atlas Film Reviews
And
podcast.
we're done.
See you later, everyone.
And we're out of here.
Get out of my house. No, I think the way I would say about the film, is I very much enjoyed it up until the last 10 minutes.
Ah, yes.
Which really threw a spanner in the works. I will explain this for the audience in the least spoilerific way I can, but I mean, close your ears if you don't want to have an inkling. So the whole film is basically in this bunker, and it's very, very tense and very claustrophobic and almost like a kind of horror thriller kind of thing.
There's plot twists, and then another.
A great
plot
character
twist
interaction, which we'll get onto. But then the last 10 minutes, she gets out of the bunker and,
That's a pretty big spoiler.
she was getting out eventually. And, the theories...
It sort of switches genre.
Yeah, it goes
In
from...
the last 10 minutes, it goes, well, that's the end of the tense bunker stuff.
Yeah.
So,
and also,
we're going to ramp this up a gear into action-adventure.
Yeah, spoiler alert, right now, we've got a few seconds to wait. The ending is that, his theories are correct and there are
aliens.
There are aliens.
Just like in Cloverfield.
Finally. There's the tie-in. Anyway, spoilers done.
You can listen again now.
And it changes genre, and it's almost a lot like a lot of horror films which I've seen. In so much, as soon as the monster or the threat has been
As soon as
revealed
you see it,
or
it's
confronted,
not scary
yeah,
anymore,
exactly.
yeah.
Once it's been confronted, it loses a lot of the fear. When she bumps into these aliens, it's just like, oh, okay, she's gonna yeah. And then, there was no point in those last 10 minutes where I thought she was in danger. Because
that's true, yeah.
all the threat went away, because the threat of the movie was John Goodman, this actual psychopath.
Or was he?
Well, John Goodman is not an actual psychopath. Just
Well,
as a
yeah,
disclaimer.
John Goodman is... Well, actually...
I hear that generally he is quite a Goodman.
Oh, that's all.
Sorry. I'm really sorry.
That was the sound of our one listener switching off in disgust.
Boo! So let's talk about John Goodman's character.
Still I have slight residual sort of
Well, would you like me to,
disappointment.
as the one who's
that-
totally on board with it, shall
that
I explain it?
He wasn't... Well, no, my residual... No, I loved him. But
Okay.
my slight problem is that I couldn't watch it without thinking, I sort of wish it was Phil Jupitus.
I don't know what this thing is
It
about.
wouldn't have worked. I know it wouldn't have worked. I know Phil Jupitus is probably not up to that level of acting, but part of me just wants to see Phil Jupitus locked in a bunker with two people.
That's so weird! That's such a weird thing
For
to
the
say.
purposes of a film,
Right.
not like a social experiment. Or actually, social experiment would be quite...
See, this is why.
Anyway.
This is why I'm worried.
No, but anyway, John Goodman is very good. He plays
Yeah.
the character brilliantly. The character is wonderful and nuanced and interesting.
And I think as someone, I'm a huge fan of horror villains and stuff. I love to get a beat and an understanding of horror villains. Villains in general, really. I think what's amazing about John Goodman, the way that it's written, is that it's such a multi-layered and multifaceted character. On the outside you've got this...
He's very human, which makes
Yeah,
it worse.
it's very imposing to begin with, and then he's like, well, actually, no, I've saved your life. Could have made it all a lot easier by explaining this straight away, but, that's just the way the film wanted to work.
Because that worked for me because he was this sort of socially awkward recluse. He's the kind of guy that's built a doomsday bunker for when the world ends, but the world
I think it
has
says enough
ended.
about the character, doesn't it,
and
really?
yeah.
And then it goes, he becomes friendlier again, but then literally minutes after him going, oh, he's a real person, do you realise that, no, actually, there's a fair bit wrong. You know, in the way that he's controlling with the two characters, and it's very patriarchal.
But then again, you've still got the feeling that, in fairness, he did save their lives. He might be right about the fact that the world has ended.
The point you said when we were watching it was he's a conspiracy theorist who was proven right, and that's a very dangerous thing.
Yeah, that's just a wonderful sort of character thing to have.
Yeah, I don't.
Because what
don't see a lot of it either. The only other one I can think of is Woody Harrelson in 2012. And he's just in a van going, I told you the world was going to end. And he dies, and it's just this wacky little blow. The Aztecs said it was going to happen.
What this film does very cleverly is it takes someone like that and then puts them in a position of power and gives you the time to get to know them.
Yeah, rather than just a loon on the street. Which is, like I say, there's not been a huge amount of character study into that sort of thing, which I think has the originality. And the way that he goes from being loving and safe to fucking psychopath instantly to back to loving, and the whole thing about, you know, his view of women. Lovely scene when they're doing.
Oh god, there are some chilling board game scenes, and if you think that sounds silly, watch the film because it's.
I can't remember the name of the game, but he's trying to describe. He's trying to guess
sort of
a
charades,
word.
but not charades. The one where you.
There's the name of the game, and I will come up with it eventually, but not right now. And so he's trying to guess Pretty Woman. He says, Little Women. Sorry.
So he's got little, so the other guy Emmett is sort of pointing to the girl Michelle. Well, not girl, young woman.
Articulate. That's the name of the game. Articulate. Anyway, carry on.
But yes, Emmett is sort of pointing at Michelle and going like Michelle, and John Goodman's there just going, girl, and Emmett's no, and John was going, girl, and
it's cannot get it, and it's slightly older,
and no older, and it's princess, and you just
it's the way that she looks at him as well.
And it's the way John Goodman says it. It sounds funny, just someone not being able to guess it and just going, girl, is it a girl? But it's not funny because John Goodman is there and he's looking weird, and you're thinking, please say woman, please just say woman, say woman,
and when the time runs out after he said princess, the way that Emmett and the girl just just look at him, and they're just like there's this level of fear out of the fact that he is so caught up in his own little vision of what kind of patriarchal, all that sort of, and the protection thing, because you get a lot of stuff about his daughter in the film that obviously drives him to be as psychotic as he is. It's a very interesting character, and to sum it up at the end, the ending lets it down massively, and that's obviously where the inclusion of Cloverfield came in. It's
a difficult film to end, though.
That's the thing. Well, I mean, we had a chat after we watched it,
and I think
there's no other way I could have ended it.
Yeah, in fairness to the film, no one would be talking about it if they hadn't tied it into Cloverfield.
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
Would be, what was it going to be called, like The Bunker or something?
Probably,
and it would have been shown in like 30 cinemas in the UK.
It was a good idea on their half because John Goodman's performance needed to be seen
by the producer J.J. Abrams.
Yeah,
I'm sure we'll hear from him again.
Who? But yeah, I think watch it without a doubt. See the film. Especially if you like horror thrillers and stuff. It's very psychological.
For me, it was better than Cloverfield. I mean, I'm not a big fan of shaky cam stuff or sort of.
It's a very different film, sadly, though. It's a very different.
It's very different, but I would say better.
But you beggar the comparison if you use the name.
Yeah. They're two very different films, but
which is why it works as not a direct sequel. Like why it's not called Cloverfield 2. Because it's set in the same universe but not the same story, which works beautifully.
Yeah.
So yeah, good film. So, in our ongoing quest to educate each other in our favourite films, this week's lazy pick was my favourite film, Blue Velvet. So, Andrew, as someone who is not a surrealist Lynchian fanatic as I am, what did you think?
Well, I'd like to congratulate David Lynch on making a film that broadly made sense. I was very impressed.
It's one of the two that does, so don't get used to it. Three.
Is it This and Elephant Man?
Yes, and another film he did called The Good Story, I think it is. But yes, which is about an old man who rides a lawnmower.
This film is a good story. What can I call it?
It's his one nice story about an old man who drives across country on a lawnmower. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a nice, good story. Anyway, so Blue Velvet.
Yeah, Blue Velvet.
Which I love for all its incredible characteristics, the cinematography, the surrealist, down the rabbit hole thing. So what did you think about it, fresh-faced viewing?
I quite liked it.
Well, that's good
Which
stuff.
was sort of a surprise, because I was thinking it wouldn't be my sort of thing. I mean, I didn't dislike Lost Highway, but it left me more confused and angry than sort of feeling like I'd seen a film
It
I liked.
asks more questions than it answers, but again is David Lynch all over.
Blue Velvet is easier to understand. I mean, Ryan was very good at sort of explaining his interpretation of it to me, and I thought that was quite a good interpretation. But the main piece of Blue Velvet is really the bad guy, the villain. Don't know his name, but Frank. He's mental.
Yeah.
But he's mental in ways that make you think this is not just a filmmaker going, we need a bad guy. Let's reach into the list of bad guy tropes and throw some on a piece of paper.
Absolutely.
This is a bad guy from someone's weird nightmares. Some weird,
This is
deeply
a well
Freudian
thought out,
nightmares.
Yeah. This villain came from somewhere. It wasn't just written. You know what I mean?
It's not often you see a man shouting into a woman's genitals, but this film isn't afraid to go there.
there's the back of the DVD review. A film that isn't afraid to show a man shouting into a woman's genitals.
Which it's better than I made it sound just then. But
I think, for me, we've just spoken about John Goodman there.
It's basic, it's like the John Goodman character in 10 Cloverfield Lane. It's a villain who you see sort of all sides of.
Yes.
And you begin to see why they're a complete bastard.
And as someone who has watched it multiple times, I found the more I watch it, the more even watching it with you, I appreciated Frank's character even more. Because I know about his his deep Freudian stuff about his mother. I did a couple of essays while I was studying at university on Blue Velvet and other stuff. You know, it was a lot. I did a lot of reading about it. Mm-hmm. So to know about the character and keep watching it and learning and looking out for certain things. I mean, I think I've done a lot of research and I still don't fully understand the character. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what's beautiful about the film. And as you say, it isn't about anyone else really.
David Lynch is certainly a filmmaker who isn't afraid to show complexity.
Absolutely.
Even if it sacrifices, the film's coherency.
And even there's the subtle complexities as well, like with Carl McLachlan's character, the main character. There's all these moments throughout it where there's this very subtle change in him where he becomes more like Frank, and Frank even says to him at one point, "You're just like me." And it sounds a bit like a throwaway phrase the first time you watch it, but the more you watch it, you see Carl McLachlan slowly adapt some of Frank's traits, but trying to resist it. You know, he hits Dorothy Valance across the face while they're having sex. He becomes more violent towards his family members. You know, he's at the dinner table. Yeah. I love you, but I want to punch you in your face, or whatever he says. And there's all this kind of... He goes further down the rabbit hole, and he acts very differently around his love interest, which is a very interesting way of doing it. And then there's all sorts of layers to it.
Yeah, if I was to sum the film up with one basic sort of theme, it's looking at the things that people hide and the things that society hides, like the weird sexual stuff that people get up to in locked rooms and all that sort of...
No, I don't know what you're talking about. No, I don't know.
I know? Oh, is that just me then?
I'm joking. Just you, yeah.
It's about basically the fact that... No, it's about a lot of things. It's about the complexity of human characters.
Absolutely.
And the fact that it's also given that a lot of the shots are sort of stereotypical sort of suburban America. Yeah. It's implying that behind the sort of facade of respectability, everyone is a bit, And
I mean, David Lynch describes it as, he said that the inspiration of Blue Velvet was stumbling behind a curtain and seeing something you're not supposed to. And then
stumbling behind a blue velvet
velvet curtain, which is why you've got that opening sequence of the curtains, because it's about going behind the curtain, seeing what the dirt, the filth that's behind the pristine outlook.
The dirt beneath the dirt.
Exactly.
To quote the Arctic Monkeys.
Absolutely, and also the opening sequence itself quite clearly says that through the visuals,
crawling through the grass
to all this dirt and cockroaches all rolling over each other. Where above you've got this beautiful, white picket fence,
lawn. Yes.
Yeah, and then there's just so much violence hidden behind it. And that's what the film's about.
Mm.
God, I fucking love it. It's such a good film. Oh my god. Anyway,
next time
yes.
I will be forcing Ryan to watch The Hunger Games.
Oh, just the first one, though.
Just the first
Thank
one.
Christ.
Not all of them. But, if he likes it,
yes.
Maybe.
I will say now that teen action drama has always been my least favourite of the genres. I hate it with a passion. But I am going into Hunger Games with an open mind, and I will look forward to seeing if it's as awful as I hope it is.
So yes, tune in and listen to Ryan complain about the Hunger Games,
and
we'll
then
see if there's anything he liked about it.
And then after that, I'll show you Battle Royale, and we can see what a real film's like. So, thank you very much for joining us for another episode of the Atlas Film Reviews podcast. We hope you had fun.
Indeed. We did. We had a lot of fun.
Next month, the big one, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice.
Or Yawn of Justice, as some internet
we won't go. The reviews so far haven't been great. We're going to go see it next week. So
sad Ben Affleck.
Sad Ben Affleck. Anyway, so Hunger Games, Batman v Superman, and probably something else as well. All right then. Thank you very much, and goodbye.
Bye.